In 19th-century Britain, scientific research remained an exclusive pastime for wealthy nobles, while Gideon Mantell was merely an ordinary humble country doctor. He once picked up a strange fossil tooth on a rural country road, never knowing it would become a key unlocking the mysteries of ancient prehistoric giants. His lifetime was relentlessly suppressed and defamed by the renowned scientist Richard Owen, yet it was also the era when humanity first heard the faint breath of ancient dinosaurs. Tonight let us walk into this sorrowful, tender and true story buried deep in history. Some people carve their names eternally within silent rock layers, and Gideon Mantell is precisely such a man. He discovered and officially named the iguanodon, yet due to his humble poor origin he was ruthlessly excluded and marginalized by the high-end academic circle. Throughout his life he endured the successive loss of wealth, family and physical health, eventually becoming a trivial toy manipulated and mocked by his academic rivals. Close your eyes and immerse yourself in this slow, soothing narration to feel the everlasting scientific loneliness and resilient life force spanning hundreds of years. If you have ever marveled at the magic and grandeur of dinosaurs, you must remember the name Gideon Mantell. His life embodied the classic tragedy of a born genius trapped by rigid class barriers, suffering endless powerlessness as a man from an impoverished background. Even after his passing, his severely deformed spine was preserved in a museum, publicly displayed for the ridicule and humiliation of his political and academic rivals. Let this fateful, solemn story guide you into peaceful sleep and silently pay tribute to this lonely pioneering scientist. Even after his departure, the spinal bone belonging to Gideon Mantell never obtained the peace it deserved. Sealed inside a glass jar filled with formalin, the deformed vertebra was put on public display in the Royal College of Surgeons in London. Those noble scholars who had competed against him and slandered his humble origins often pointed at this broken spine, distorted in a brutal carriage accident, letting out harsh mocking laughter. Yet the owner of this damaged skeletal fragment was precisely the gifted man who first opened the door to the prehistoric secrets of the earth, the first human being to confirm the real existence of ancient dinosaurs. Tonight let the soft flickering glow of quiet firelight stay with us as we walk fully into the untold story of his life. We travel back to the coal smoke-filled streets of the Victorian era, searching for a forgotten unsung hero. This is the tale of an ordinary country doctor who pursued unyielding truth amid cracked earth, only to be swallowed up by the unkind malice of his era. Now steady your breathing and let time drift back to one misty, foggy morning in 1822. In 1822 the countryside of Sussex was dotted with blooming wildflowers. Gideon Mantell rode on a bumpy carriage traveling between villages to provide medical treatment. Born to a poor shoemaker, he bore an invisible heavy shackle in the rigid class stratified society of Britain. Even after growing into an accomplished, skilled doctor, he was still regarded as an unwelcome intruder by the arrogant upper class. It was his wife Mary who accidentally discovered a dull brown hard object amid roadside gravel, a gigantic strangely shaped fossil tooth. The moment Mantell held the ancient tooth in his palm he felt an indescribable tremor echoing across tens of millions of years. He carefully consulted every existing book on modern reptiles, yet found no living creature possessing such massive, unique tooth structures. For countless quiet nights he stayed up late beneath dim oil lamps, carefully comparing rock samples, rubbing rough stone surfaces with his fingertips, striving to decipher the ancient melodies hidden and preserved by the earth. He boldly put forward a groundbreaking speculation long before mainstream academia acknowledged prehistoric giants. A huge iguana-like creature once dominated this land long before the emergence of mankind. At that time such a revolutionary conjecture sounded utterly absurd to London academic circles. The famous respected paleontologist Georges Cuvier even scoffed, publicly claiming the fossil was merely the tooth of a common rhinoceros. Refusing to yield to public ridicule, Mantell kept unwavering persistence unique to resilient underprivileged men. Yet he never realized that this fascinating ancient tooth, which captivated all his attention, had not only unveiled the age of dinosaurs but also quietly triggered the irreversible decline of his own destined life. Driven by the determination to prove his scientific discovery, Mantell devoted all his lifetime energy and meager savings to fossil collection. He established a small private museum in Brighton, hoping to reveal the authentic secrets of the earth to those arrogant noble gentlemen. Yet this obsession gradually made him neglect his medical clinic and source of livelihood. To make matters worse, the top tier of British academia was dominated by Richard Owen, a man of noble birth with immense academic authority. Owen not only plagiarized Mantell's research achievements to coin the official term dinosaur, but also humiliated and suppressed him relentlessly by taking advantage of inherent class prejudice. During Mantell's most destitute, impoverished days, Owen abused his power to erase Mantell's name from nearly all formal academic records. Standing alone inside his deserted private museum, Mantell stared at his exquisite, carefully preserved fossil specimens, these silent relics witnessing the Gradual decline and collapse of their owner, unable to endure persistent poverty, and her husband's fanatical obsession with fossils. Mantell's wife chose to leave him, and their children gradually drifted away from this solitary man who devoted all his time to cold stone specimens. On the coldest winter nights along the Brighton coastline, the crashing ocean waves echoed like sorrowful sighs of fate sweeping endlessly over his lonely, hunched figure. He once firmly believed scientific truth transcended social class, yet he eventually realized that the shadow of power could even cover the oldest, deepest geological strata. During this difficult period he began to suffer from unbearable chronic back pain. A violent carriage accident permanently deformed his spinal column, plunging him into long-term physical torment and endless darkness. Physical disability never extinguished the blazing fire burning within Gideon Mantell's soul, instead granting him a serene mentality similar to a devout martyr. He had to wear heavy, rigid steel braces to support his severely curved spine, enduring piercing, stabbing pain with every single step he took. Even trapped in such physical agony, he still hired carriages to travel to remote geological excavation sites, and sometimes allowed workers to carry him down into muddy, dark mining pits simply to catch a glimpse of newly unearthed skeletal remains. In letters written to close friends he confessed that his physical body was broken and fractured, yet his mind roamed freely and endlessly through the ancient depths of the earth. During this period Richard Owen had already become an unshakable monarch, dominating the British scientific circle. While Mantell was still alive, Owen attempted to purchase his precious fossil collections, arbitrarily altering recorded descriptions to claim research priority. For a time Mantell anonymously published articles in local newspapers, fighting stubbornly to regain the deserved credit for his discoveries, yet his feeble voice was easily drowned out by the powerful, rigid academic bureaucracy. The restored iguanodon model, which he had painstakingly researched and reconstructed, was displayed in London's Crystal Palace Park, admired and praised by countless visitors, none of whom knew the unsung country doctor who dedicated countless sleepless nights to the research. Suffering from long-term overwork and opioid painkiller dependence, his appearance aged rapidly, his former elegant, gentle temperament worn away by relentless illness, leaving only a pair of bright, insightful eyes still shining with determination. In despair he completed his masterpiece, The Geology of Sussex, writing in the preface that every personal sacrifice he made was solely to illuminate the light of truth for future generations. Perhaps the final mercy granted by fate was a fleeting dream of primeval forests on the night before his fatal drug overdose. In the dead of night in 1852 Gideon Mantell passed away quietly inside his London lodging due to an accidental painkiller overdose. His death aroused no sorrow or mourning within academic circles. Richard Owen even published a cold, anonymous obituary contemptuously describing him as a mediocre, arrogant fossil collector. Crueler humiliation followed without mercy. Using his privileged academic authority, Owen excised Mantell's severely deformed spine, preserving it as a pathological specimen for permanent public display. For an entire century the discoverer of the iguanodon remained in museums in such an unbearably humiliating form. Owen attempted to completely destroy Mantell's dignity both in written records and physical reality, yet he underestimated the irreversible power of time. The precious fossil specimens collected painstakingly by Mantell were eventually scattered across renowned museums all over the world that once misjudged rhinoceros tooth, becoming an irreplaceable cornerstone of modern paleontology. As the arrogance of the Victorian era gradually faded, people began to sort through dusty old archives, rediscovering this long obscured, forgotten name. Modern scientific research confirmed that despite minor flaws in Mantell's fossil restoration, his judgment of ancient ecological niches and geological strata was far more forward-thinking and accurate than that of his malicious rivals. He resembled a towering, stubborn tree rooted in barren, infertile land, shattered by thunderstorms and buried by freezing snow, yet its deep roots had long penetrated the deepest layers of the earth. It was not until the mid-20th century that Mantell's deformed spine received proper peaceful burial, putting an end to the century-long academic humiliation that haunted his name. Today, whenever we stand before towering, majestic iguanodon skeletons in museums, please pause to remember the ordinary doctor named Gideon Mantell. His lifetime was never marked by glorious success, filled instead with destitution, sorrow and suffering, yet he never yielded to the humble, lowly origin imposed upon him. He bent down in excruciating back pain to observe ancient relics, gazing at distant stars amid persistent poverty. With his broken, tortured body he pieced together the long-lost prehistoric territory of planet Earth. His life story tells us that truth may be temporarily concealed by power and trampled by malicious villains, yet it will never vanish completely. On this quiet night, as you drift into sleep, there is no need to worry about unfair treatment and worldly grievances, for even cold, hard rocks will remember every sincere, persistent soul. Gideon Mantell has finally returned to the quiet geological strata he cherished deeply, a place free of rigid class boundaries and Cruel humiliation filled with eternal tranquil peace. The warm fire has faded and the howling wind outside the window has gradually subsided. You may sink into peaceful sleep enveloped by this powerful resilient life force. May your dreams be filled with vast primeval wilderness, timeless forgiveness, and a lush green ancient forest belonging only to yourself. Good night.